Everybody knows who Job is. You don't have to be spiritual. You don't have to be religious. You don't have to be a faithful reader of the Bible to know who Job is. In today's terms, anybody who is long suffering, anybody who endures, we say, has the patience of Job. But let me tell you the rest of the story. Job was an affluent, wealthy man. If you close your eyes for a minute and think about any place in our world today where the wealthy and the affluent gather, that's where you'd find Job. Name a material possession, Job had it. Name a successful child, Job had it. Name a successful relationship, Job was in it. And then one day it wasn't. And bit by bit by bit, Job lost everything he had. Ever been there? Now, I haven't to the extent Job has. But what happens when you start losing things? Sometimes you start losing people. I remember many years ago, I sat with a client's son who had just gotten out of college, and we were talking, and he opened his wallet and he pulled out a credit card that not just anybody can get. And he looked me dead in the eye and he said, "You know what, John? I know who likes me for me, and I know who likes me for this." And he tapped it on the table. Well, that was Job. People kind of started to distance themselves. Old Job's hit the skids. Matter of fact, old Job hit the skids to the point where he was sitting on a pile of unprocessed fertilizer on the side of the road with flies and mosquitoes and bugs. And with each successive loss, Job was afflicted with physical ailments as well as the material things he lost. And all those people who had kind of said, "Yeah, Job, I'll bet you he's a cheater," or "I'll bet you he's embezzled," or "Who does he think he has?" All those people walked by and they jeered at him. They said, "Look at you now, Job." Well, in the ideal world, the one where I have hair, Job sat on that pile of unprocessed fertilizer and smiled and said, "Oh, don't worry, God will help me." But he didn't. To the point, Job sat there and actually said, "Cursed be the day that I was born, and cursed be the womb that bore me." It was kind of like, this isn't only my fault, but if my mother had never been born, then I wouldn't even be here. Can you say depression? Oh, it gets better or worse, depending on how you look at it. Job had three friends. And those three friends got together and they came up to Job and they said, "Hey, Job, we've been thinking. You had to have done something wrong for this to happen. So you better atone for your sins. You better figure out what's going on. Because this kind of stuff just doesn't happen, Job. You've messed up some way." Ever had that said to you and people are slowly backing up? Now, the Bible tells us Job was a righteous man. And in the Old Testament, they don't throw around righteous, like nickels. Okay? That meant Job pretty much lived a good life, gave to the poor, supported the church, gave to charities, didn't cheat, rob, steal, all those things we look for in a righteous person. But, the dude had to have done something wrong, right? So Job sat there, and he took all that he could take. And he finally said to God, just get it over with. As a matter of fact, one of his friends said, "Why don't you just curse God and die?" But then, kind of out of a whirlwind, the voice of God spoke to Job, and he said, "Job, here's the real issue. And if you would like to be restored to everything you had, here's what you need to do. You need to forgive those people for what they said and what they done." And at the end of the book of Job, Job offers a burnt offering and he prays for the three people who had just bedeviled him for the period of time that he had lost everything. And the story has a happy ending. Job has everything restored to him. Back in the 70s, Kenny Rogers played with a band called The First Edition. And he wrote a song called Tell It All, Brother. And there's a line in there that stuck with me ever since I heard that song for the first time. It goes like this: and in the dungeons of your mind, who do you have chained to the walls? Who aren't I forgiving? Because what stands between me and success, what stands between me and happiness, what stands between me and doing everything that I want to do in my life is the ability or my inability to forgive those who I believe have wronged me. So just like Job, one day the light goes on, and then we start moving forward. I'm John Jerkowitz, and I hope you have a great week.